Welcome back to CP24 Breakfast. Let's round up today's top stories in the world of science with CTV's science and technology expert Dan Riskin. Dan, good morning to you. So let's start with this. Attending live sports events seems to be good for your health.
Yeah, I like this one. I mean, if you're thinking about going to a Raptors game or even just a Marlies game or whatever it is, this new research out of the UK says that it's going to make your life better. What they did is they polled about 7,000 people, and they said, have you been to a sporting event lately? And tell us about your mental health. How are you doing? And what they found is people that had been to a sporting event recently scored higher for their levels of happiness than people who had not been to a sporting event lately. So things like life being worthwhile, they gave higher marks to that on the questionnaire. They're less lonely, and they have better life satisfaction overall. But what's interesting is they didn't differentiate in the study between different levels of play. So, I mean, we're talking about the UK. So were these people going to Premier League games, or were they going to watch their kids play, a rugby game in, high school or something like that? And so without differentiating that, it's hard to know exactly what level of sport has the best effect. And then the other big question is, how does going to a game compared to watching a game, for example, or if I go to a bar where everybody's cheering, is that the same as being in the crowd? So there are a lot of pieces of this that I hope researchers are able to tease out. But the big take home right now is, if you feel like you could use a pick-me-up and you feel like you'd like to have a little boost of happiness in your life, going to see a sporting event seems to do the trick.
And it's interesting, Dan, too, because I think the Jays this year have launched these like $20 tickets where you can just sort of stroll around the dome. You don't have a seat per se, but again, you get that collective experience with the crowd without necessarily breaking the bank. That's until you buy a drink, of course. But I mean, $20 gets you in the door, and that's not bad. Okay, Dan, we talked about this earlier in the show as well, but this is an interesting one about work and workloads. New research suggests that you take a break when you're dealing with heavy workloads. That, in fact, boosts your productivity. So taking a break is a good thing.
Yes, and what's really interesting is a lot of people don't take breaks when they should take breaks, and so researchers wanted to know why. So, just to really make the point you just made, when people take breaks at work, it improves their mental health, but it also improves their productivity. When people don't take breaks, they do worse overall than people who are taking breaks to keep the ball rolling in their head, so to speak. And so when you ask people, hey, what prevents you from taking more breaks at work? Most people answer, oh, it's because of the workload, or it's because I was I was on a roll and I didn't want to stop because I had good momentum, or they say, I've got a deadline and I just can't afford to take a break right now. But what's really interesting is people give these answers, and then when you actually give them surveys while they're at the office and you say, why aren't you taking a break right now? They give a different answer. And that answer is, it's just not a culture here where I can take a break.
Interesting.
And that's a huge hint for managers, or if you're looking at the way your office works, if you have a culture where it's okay to take breaks and it's encouraged, you're going to have higher productivity overall, and you're going to have happier people working there. So any manager who's listening, you should be making sure that you've created an environment where people know they can take a break, because it's going to help your bottom line.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I need to show this study to my mother. She is an Energizer bunny. But Dan, we'll let you take a break right now. You're always great. Thanks again for chatting with us. That's CTV's science and technology expert, Dan Riskin. Thank you.
Well, $55 million would certainly help you buy a bit of real estate these days, but the mass exodus away from major cities during the pandemic, it seems to be in reverse, as prices of dwellings listed as, quote, recreational homes in this province are starting to ease. So let's take a look at that right now, as people are maybe thinking of what they might do for a summer home this year. Phil Soper, President and CEO of Royal LePage, back in studio for the first time in a while. Phil, it's good to see you in person.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So let's talk about this, because there was this real boom in secondary properties. People thought, okay, I can work remotely, so I'm going to buy a house on a lake and I'll have a nice view every morning as I'm doing my work. That's changing, though, isn't it?
It is. As businesses decide they want their employees back in office a few days a week, even a few days, say 3. I noticed RBC just made the big move, and they're a trendsetter in the country. That long commute, say that 2-hour commute into the office, even 3 days a week, has lost some of its magic. And, winter at the cottage is not the same as summer at the cottage. So, people are turning to cottages as an urban escape again, as opposed to a principal residence.
Right, and it's kind of a different, your mentality when you're buying a secondary residence versus your primary residence is different here. So it almost seems to me like the strategy can be, I can wait a little bit longer and see if the market does drop a little bit, which your new report suggests it may in Ontario, maybe 5% or so this year?
Yeah, if you look at our urban markets, they went through the big price reset call it around middle last year through the first quarter of this year. They bottomed out and they're starting to appreciate again. Well, the spring market returned to normal cycles, or I should say the recreational market. In other words, it's just coming alive now. And it's typically dead in the winter, not during the pandemic, but it was during this winter. So people are just back in market, and only now are we starting to see that reset in prices, although not to the extent we saw in urban markets. If urban markets are down 10%, cottage markets, chalet markets seem to be down about half that.
Okay, and Phil, I think a big part of real estate, anytime we have these conversations right now, is mortgage rates, interest rates,
Yes.
right? I mean, with the Bank of Canada rate being so high, they've gone up. Is that such a factor in the residential property side of investing?
No, it isn't, for a couple of reasons. One, this is a desire, a want, not a need. It's not that food, shelter, clothing triad that sort of makes our lives go around. You'll do anything, right? So people are looking at a luxury. Also, there's less demand, so people are able to put conditions on offers. They're able to look around a little bit.
Right, okay, Phil Soper, always good to chat with you, CEO and President of Royal LePage. Thanks for coming in this morning. Hopefully we'll see you back here soon.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a revolution of some sorts kind of in place. The world of analog has slowly and steadily brought the likes of cassettes, vinyl records, and even VHS movies to the forefront.
So for a closer look at what's taking shape, David Sachs, journalist, writer, and an analog guru, joins us live in the studio this morning. David, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here in the Analog Flash.
Yes,
Exactly,
absolutely.
yes.
We certainly missed face-to-face interactions during the pandemic when everything was all kind of, virtual. But let's talk about why we're seeing this resurgence in retro things such as vinyl, VHS, cassettes. I think you attribute it to kind of the pandemic and how we all hit a digital wall.
That's the latest thing, right? I think it had been happening before. So really since the iPhone came out, when all the analog technology, physical things that you needed kind of got replaced, and it was like, hey, this can go in the palm of your hand. You don't need a record player, a video store anymore. You don't need any of these things. It can all be done here. We're like, cool, that's great. All right, I kind of missed some of that other stuff. And so we've been seeing for the past 15 years, things like vinyl records coming back, independent bookstores, all these things that we'd assumed were going to go the way of the dodo. And what the pandemic did was sort of force us all in this digital-only diet. It's like, oh, you want to watch streaming all day? Here you go. That's all you got. Hey, kids, you like screens? There's your, school, work, whatever you wanted to do. And everybody hit, at least at some point, some limit to that. And they said, I want more. I want something that I can hold, I can feel, I can touch. It'll get me out. It'll get me to interact with things. And so we've been seeing the evolution of this, and the pandemic just kind of kicked it up to another level.
It was interesting. We had Ian Thornley on from Big Rec 2 days ago or yesterday on the show, and he was talking about they've released their newest album on some special edition cassette tapes. And I thought to myself, we've heard of albums coming out on vinyl lately, but cassette is sort of something new again. Do you think, David, it's the sort of tactile sense that we're just kind of tired of everything in one place and that we like the variety? Is it an instinctive human nature thing, do you think?
Well, look at us. Touch us,
talking,
right?
yeah,
We're talking. We have bodies. We're existing in this space. The rest of you at home are watching it on a flat piece of glass, but you're also in your living rooms, your kitchens, or your dentist office. And so those bodies, even though we can do everything virtually or through a screen, they still exist. They still need sensation. They still need inputs. And the input we can get from a flat piece of glass is very limited, right? We want things that we can buy and touch. So when you think about a teenager or a 20-year-old going out and getting into music, there is something about the physical, tactile nature of it, right? I bought a record yesterday because I love the music. I've been listening to it on Spotify, this Colombian group, and I'm like, I want to hold this thing, right? I want to touch this. So I had to order it from France just to get this piece of melted plastic that has the same sound on it as the digital file, but it's different. And so that at the core is the truth of it, right? It's why 90% of people who read books read it in paper, even after nearly 20 years of ebooks, right? Which are cheaper and easier, and you don't have to cut down a tree. You talk to any publisher, you talk to any bookstore, you talk to any library system, 90%'s in paper. Why? Because you know what people say the number one reason is? Guess.
Just touch, smell.
Smell.
Smell. I love the smell of
book
books.
pages,
There's no reason logically why we should care that a book, oh, that was a good smelling book. I really liked your book, David. It smelled great, but we have senses of smell. We have all these different senses that need to be engaged. And when we engage in the world when our fullest, we get the most out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to, reading a book or even VHS tapes. I've been talking about how I had this massive VHS collection, and I would find myself rewatching more movies on VHS than I do now. These days, you see something on Netflix, rarely do you go back and watch that again, right?
It's all about, the thing that's being fed to you. And, I think about it, it's a Friday night or it's a rainy day, it's going to be garbage on Saturday, right? We'll probably end up with our kids sitting around at some point around the TV. It's like, all right, Disney Plus, Netflix, what are we going to watch? Scroll.
Yeah.
Do you want that?
Too
I don't know.
much.
Do you want that? I don't know. Versus kind of going through the joys of going to, Queen Video or Video Flicks, right?
Oh, yeah.
In blessed memory. And sort of touching and feeling and walking the aisles and holding things. That physical, sensual way of doing things was rewarding, and it limited the choice, and it made it suited to the way our bodies have evolved to navigate through the world over tens of thousands of years.
And it's interesting because you're still publishing books that some people say, oh, books are going away, but you're still clearly a huge, and the three of us are, I think we're all on the same page, pardon the pun there, to talk about that. But, I'm thinking about even newspapers right now. I'm thinking about magazines. Like, do you see that this evolution may bring back more of the printed word, perhaps, than what we're believing or seeing right now?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think people talk about, look at the decline of newspapers or magazines, which certainly has gone down. As a journalist, I know this from the paychecks I get.
Right.
Or don't. The difference with those is the economic model. And it's the same thing as the TV business, right?
Yeah.
It's ad-based, and the advertisement moved to Facebook and other social media sites and Google, right? But the actual thing of people liking to read something on paper is still there. So it's just a question of that economic model. And I think you will see it. You see people starting new magazines, succeeding at them. So it's a question of just how you make it work for that growing niche audience. But the important thing and the hopeful thing, I think, is the sales of cassettes, the sales of vinyl, the sales of paper books, the sales of notebooks and pens and, like Walkmans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I never thought I'd say this. It's not being driven by our generation of nostalgic people who are like breaking out their yellow, Sony Sport Walkman they got for their bar mitzvah. It's our kids. It's the people in their teens. I mean, you go into a record store here on Queen Street, it's not you and I who are buying the De La Soul cassette.
Right, exactly.
That just came out last week.
Yeah.
It's our kids or our, kids' babysitters, I guess.
And perhaps that speaks to our need of regaining and reclaiming that sense of control.
Exactly.
Well. Yeah.
It's something that is distinct. It's yours. You uniquely own it. You're not paying for the rent to stream it. You own that De La Soul cassette.
Right. David, listen, thanks for the great conversation. Really appreciate your time this morning, and ending on that hopeful note as well. Hopefully we can have you back too sometime.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Well, I guess you can say AJ McLean is sort of playing different games these days. A new series set to debut tomorrow, hoping to find fashionistas that are breaking barriers to make fashion more inclusive, really, for everyone. 22 contestants from around the world, 4 celebrity judges, and a vibrant and engaging host. Joining us now, member of the Backstreet Boys, the host of The Fashion Hero, A New Kind of Beautiful, AJ McLean. AJ, thanks for being here. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you.
All right, so really cool to have you on the couch to talk about this show. I watched the first episode yesterday, and it really kind of flips on its head the sort of stereotypical, I think, ideas of beauty and fashion, and I think that's important for the moment right now. What was it like to be asked to do this and then to see how it's evolved and participating in it?
When they first asked me about doing the show, I heard the title and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be like America's Next Top Model, one of those type of shows. And then when I got to finally speak to the showrunner, the creator of the show, I was like, okay, this is incredible. Sign me up. Where are we going? They said, we're going to Africa. I was like, okay, let's go to Africa. But it really, truly is something special, something different, because, again, looking at social media, looking at what's out there on the cover of most magazines, you have this typical, skinny model, the guy with the six-pack abs and everything's airbrushed and it's perfect. Yeah. And that's just not real. That's not reality, in the sense of, in my opinion, and what the show is saying is everyone is beautiful, inside and out. Doesn't matter your age, race, gender, beliefs, whatever it is, everyone is truly beautiful as themselves. and finding that next face for whatever brand it is. We had 4 amazing judges with 4 different brands in South Africa, and you're finding the next person to be the face of that brand for a year to 18 months. And it was such a pleasure and a joy to meet these amazing kids from all around the world.
Yeah. Those beauty shots of Sun City throughout the episodes, I mean, it just makes me want to go. I mean, it just
You should go. It is absolutely
staggeringly beautiful.
It is. It is.
And you know, a lot of people look at fashion and they say fashion and beauty. And beauty, we all say it's in the eye of the beholder, but a lot of people forget that. You talked about social media right there. It really struck me the range of people. You know, I think there's a 60-year-old German man.
Yep.
There's an indigenous Canadian woman, a mother of, I think, 3 or 4 from Canada.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, just a full range here. And you're really kind of flipping it all on its head. And so I wonder what you hope the impact is of this show on the fashion industry.
I'm just hoping that people realize, again, that beauty is on both the inside and the outside, but it truly starts with how you feel about yourself and that inner confidence, and that showing people that anybody who's anybody can be on the cover of Vogue magazine, on the cover of Cosmo, on the cover of whatever, and it makes the fashion world more relatable to the average person. Whether it's a fragrance, a clothing brand, an airline, whatever you're promoting, it makes it more real. And that's what I love so much about the show, is that this show is about real. Like, you hear about reality television, and it's never really reality television. You know, it's scripted, it's this, it's that.
Yeah.
This is raw, this is real. The challenges that we put these contestants through are not easy. One of the challenges, and I'll kind of jump episodes down, but I'm not going to give too much away.
Okay.
You know, having to look at yourself in the mirror, and I'll challenge everybody out there watching. Every day, wake up, look at yourself in the mirror, and say 3 things you love about yourself. It's a lot harder than you would imagine.
Yeah.
We can easily look at ourselves in the mirror and go, oh, I need to lose this. Oh, my face. Oh, my hair. Oh. Try to say 3 things you truly love about yourself every day, and it can't be the same day after day.
Oh, it can't be the same. Okay.
Can't be the same.
Yeah.
You keep on giving yourself the confidence that you deserve.
Positivity.
Positivity,
right?
and it's a different mindset. And listening to what these amazing contestants were saying to themselves, I was bawling like a baby. The entire crew were crying. Yeah. They were crying. It was a very, very emotional moment.
I could definitely tell that this was going to be a show that was going to get emotional the further into it you get. That's
it definitely does.
I got to ask you, though, I've got a Backstreet Boy sitting on set with me today. 30 years ago, you guys debuted.
Yeah.
Did you still think that you'd be as relevant and, you know, still part of the mainstream 30 years ago that you are today? I mean, does that blow your mind?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we definitely hoped. We had dreams and we had goals. You know, we've been saying most recently that we would like to be the Rolling Stones of pop.
Okay.
I mean, they've been around for what, almost 50 years or more?
Some of them are 80 now.
Exactly. Yeah. So 50, 60 years. We would love to have another 30 in us. You know, April 20th of this year will be our 30th anniversary. Yeah. We feel it every day.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, honestly, we are beyond blessed. We are so beyond grateful. It starts with the fans. It starts with the music. Everything for us before North America started here in Canada. Yeah, so hats off to all of Canada for being so loving and so freaking supportive. We were just here in Toronto last summer. Yeah. We had a special visitor on stage with us last summer, Drake.
That's right.
Which was a dream for all of us. That was a magical moment.
Well, AJ, listen, good luck with the new show. Great that you came into CP24 Breakfast today. Thanks for joining us. And good luck with the band as you continue to maybe be the Rolling Stones of pop.
I hope so.
Well, you still be the Backstreet Boys if you're in your 70s or 80s.
I mean, you know, people have tried to call us Backstreet Men or just Backstreet, but we're always going to be Backstreet Boys. We're boys, we're friends.
Got a ring to it.
But thank you for having me. Yeah. Everybody, please go download Paramount Plus, download the app, watch the show.
All right.
It premieres tomorrow. Thank you so much for having me.
AJ, thank you.
Good to meet you.
Cheers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrow. For the first time, I'm thinking past tomorrow.
Oh, this is so good. After garnering a record 16 Tony nominations in 2016 and acclaim and buzz around the world, Hamilton is extending its run in this city. It's a period piece like none other about one of the founding fathers of the Republic with revolutionary casting told through a variety of musical styles, including hip-hop, R&B, rap. Joining us now is Darnell Abraham, who portrays George Washington in the musical, a modern Major General, right here on my couch. It doesn't get better than that. You know, when this initially got so much buzz, I love musical theater, and I was like, I love this, but I have no idea what this is about. And even after it was explained to me, I was unprepared for how brilliant this is. So what do you say to people who've never seen this before to prepare them for what they're about to experience?
Buckle up.
Yeah, right?
Because we're going back in time, 1776, and we're gonna tell a story. It's a story about America then told by Americans now.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways I think to prepare is listen to the soundtrack if you can. There's Disney Plus. Take a look at that because really once the show gets going, I mean
you're into it.
We're going. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it over and over and still pick up things. And the music, it hangs with you. I literally, since I saw the show about 3 weeks ago, it just keeps in my head. Those songs are so memorable. Lin-Manuel Miranda, a lot of people maybe recognize him from the soundtracks of Disney's Manoa, and he also did, what was the other? Encanto.
Yes.
Very, his talents. But what is it about the music that just, you can't get it out of your head?
Lin is a wizard. He has really mastered the art of finding those hooks. And what I mean by hooks are those things that, those melody lines that just they keep reoccurring. And so I think he does it in such a genius, masterful way to where it stays with you. And we have examples of that throughout the show. It must be nice, to have Washington on your side.
Couch.
Right?
Absolutely. It is good, but then I got to talk about it, and you mentioned it, buckle up. The frenetic pace of this, for the audience watching, you have to stay focused.
Yeah.
But for you as an actor on stage, to hit every beat, this looks incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Okay,
Yeah.
so when I first learned the show, and I started way back in 2018, by the way. And speaking of layers, I'm still discovering new things in the show, and that's the beauty of this art form. But you have to start slow it down, and just allow your brain to process and digest everything that is coming off of the page. And then eventually you work your way up, and you do it at full speed, and you do the thing. But starting slow, that's how I did it.
And besides Hamilton, Washington is pretty much one of the stars of the show. The big guns, literally, boom. Some people say, "Oh, period piece from this, 1700s. How does this connect to me?" But this isn't just a story about Hamilton or the birth of a nation. This is kind of everyman themes too. These are flawed heroes,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
That must be really appealing as an actor to kind of dig in. You said you're finding layers of not just portrayed as, the founding fathers. They must be without fault.
Right. Absolutely. So for me, I'm very interested in particularly in George Washington and bringing this historical figure to life. I think we often think of these founding fathers as very statuesque. And so my aim is to bring them off the pedestal and to really humanize who these human beings were. Flaws and successes alike. And I think that's really interesting to me because I think that's also where we as human beings, that's where we relate, that's where we connect. And if I don't do that, then I kind of feel like, shucks, try it again tomorrow, I guess.
And kind of on that same realm, and I just got to ask you this too. I mean, this is kind of a living story. You talked about that tool from now. The casting, although it looks so different from the way maybe people would have been back in 1700s in terms of the diversity, this is what we experience now, diversity in our politicians, in our heroes. It doesn't seem strange as an audience to see this kind of casting.
Absolutely.
Did that ever surprise you, or does that work just beautifully the way it was meant to?
I think it works beautifully the way it was meant to. And representation matters. And we all are benefactors of Western democracy. And so I think that we have to be intentional and be very thoughtful about what that looks like, not only in politics, but also on the Broadway stage. And it would really is, I think it would really be a shame to overlook that. And I think one of the reasons why it's working so well is because people are able to look on stage and relate. We all know George Washington wasn't a black man, but for me personally, I think it is unique because we also know that George Washington, he enslaved black Americans. And so for me, it has also been this really unique journey of reconciliation and discovery and
getting that discussion
and having that discussion and being very public in that discussion.
Well, you have to experience this. It is brilliant, and it's we can talk about it, but to experience it is what you have to do. August 20th, that's been extended to Mervish.com. Darnell Abraham, pleasure.